Bears favorites on Sunday, trying to stack wins, like Caleb said, with the end of their schedule increasingly more difficult. Bears still have to play the #1 team in the conference, the Eagles, on Black Friday here on Fox. 2 games with the Packers, 49ers, and Lions. All would be playoff teams if the postseason started today. Also a road game at Minnesota and at home against Pittsburgh. That is Cassie Carlson. I'm Lou Canellis, back here on Chicago Sports Tonight. It's time now for our Chevy Drive Chicago.com NFC North preview. Before we bring in Tina Wynn from Hallis Hall, I wanted to ask you, following the Bears practice, and you look at the schedule ahead, Bears have the game with the Giants coming up on Sunday. Vikings host Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. All right. Lions coming off a loss. They're at Washington. And then you've got the Packers hosting the Eagles on Monday Night Football. Man, it's a big weekend for the division.
Well, yeah, and the way that the Vikings went out and beat the Lions last week really kind of threw everyone for a loop in the NFC North. And now you're looking at a team, and they're going to see Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens looking to string together their 3rd straight win. You talk about the Lions going against the Commanders without Jaden Daniels and a defense that's giving up a handful of points and an offense that's not the same as it was a year ago. And then I think you're looking at Packers and Eagles. That could potentially be an NFC Championship game right there. So the Bears need to focus on going 1-0. We know this is one of the toughest divisions in football, and now that they're on their back half of the season with the games that you just mentioned, and it getting just tougher and tougher, and teams getting better and better as the season goes on, Bears need to win and go 1-0.
You were at practice Wednesday and Thursday. What was your come away?
Well, I think that the Bears are just trying to turn the page after a very emotional win on Sunday. And while the adrenaline was so high in that locker room after the game, guys were literally shaking. They couldn't stand up from their lockers because they could not believe what just happened. Now they need to quickly look at their next opponent, a Giants team that's 2-7, and not overlook them, because they had a goal last 4 games going 3-1. They can check that off. They had the same goal over the next 4 games. And you think about what that could look like if we're going into December and they have what, an 8-4 record?
Wow.
That would be crazy to think about, but they're focusing on the process at hand. And Caleb Williams said they have the veterans and the leaders in the locker room now that are making sure that they are focused on that, and especially this week.
I like to hear that, something they have not had in recent years. All right, let's bring in Tina Wynn. Tina has been at Hallis Hall all day at Bears practice, had an opportunity to listen to Ben Johnson, go inside the locker room. All right, Tina, TJ Edwards will not play. Big loss for the Bears. What did Ben Johnson say?
Yeah, TJ Edwards, certainly an impact player. So Josh Blackwell, Dominique Robinson, TJ Edwards will not play on Sunday against the Giants. Ben Johnson actually told us earlier today that he had to have hand surgery to repair a fracture in his hand. They do plan to put a cast on that when he returns, but he's ultimately dealing with 2 injuries, right? The hamstring injury that he sustained in the preseason that's caused him already to miss a few games. And now the hand injury, they're going to try to avoid putting him on IR. Expect Noah Sewell to take his place. We've seen him play in his position a few times. Been pretty solid for the most part, but we also know that Tremaine Edmonds is someone that can also play that position. I want to add that Ben Johnson also had some high praises for Tremaine Edmonds, saying that that's someone that he's feel like is getting more and more comfortable, especially on the weak side, but his length is obviously such a positive factor. It's tough to get the ball around him, over him. I believe he's got 4 interceptions on this season, but overall, just the next man up mentality for a defensive unit that's been dealing with injuries all season long. Lou and Cassie.
Yeah, well, the TJ Edwards news is big news, because we were kind of joking yesterday saying, well, he's their best linebacker. And I'm like, well, I want to give Tremaine Edmonds some credit with the way that he's playing. That was referencing, I think, back to a year ago when Tremaine Edmonds didn't have his best season. As Tina mentioned, he got moved to the weak side and finally feeling a little bit more comfortable there. And that's allowed him and his length to play in more space. And we see what he can do when he has space. This guy is tall. He's big. He brings so much length. And Ben Johnson said today as well that opposing coaches are calling him after games and talking about how Tremaine Edmonds is causing them fits, because that is not something that every linebacker has, that size in the middle of the field. And against a Giants team that's not going to have Cam Scadaboo or Malik Neighbors, they still have Jackson Dart. And if he can evade pressure from the defensive line, that second level of the defense is going to have to shore that up.
Edmonds right now with a career high 4 interceptions. Yeah. Richard Smith, who coaches the linebackers, told me before the season started that he was going to make the move, and so far, it has worked out.
It's Friday.
We got it out. Tina, DeAndre Swift popped up on the injury report today. Did Ben Johnson tell you if he'll play or not? And if yes, how is he going to divvy up the carries between Swift and Kyle Monongai?
Yeah, well, first off, no official word from Ben Johnson. He spoke before practice and before the injury report came out. Did not see him at practice day when I was out there, but the team said it was due to a personal reason. Now, we know in Detroit, right, Ben Johnson relied heavily on Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. We saw what Kyle Monangai could do, right, when he has to carry the full load when Swift is out. 26 carries, career high 176 rushing yards. But I want you guys to listen in on what Ben Johnson had to say when we asked him, hey, how do you plan on divvying up the responsibilities between Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift here?
My experience has usually been, each guy, there might be a couple plays on the plan, run game or pass game that you put their number down for going into the week. And, other than that, I think normally it's been by series. Hey, this guy's going to start us off this series, and we'll kind of see the longer the drive, we might have to sub someone else in, or if I call one of those, selective plays, that might be the case. But, no, I think we'll get that right balance as we go through it. EB's got a really good feel for guys as they're rolling. I do believe in a guy having a hot hand. So if one guy, as he's feeling it and giving us a spark, we might lean on that a little bit longer.
Got the chance to also talk to Kyle Monangai just a while ago in the locker room. He said same mentality as last week, right? Always stay prepared. Bears right now 4th in total offense, 2nd in rushing yards. Monangai also giving some love to the guys up front, right? They've been blocking so well. And these running backs, I think Lou and Cassie, we're starting to see them really trust those open lanes. But the Giants, as we know, they allow a lot of yards on the ground too. So just another opportunity for this offense in the run game to continue to roll on.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned about the offensive line. We were warned about this, despite all the additions that they made on the interior, that it was going to take some time for it to come together. And maybe people thought, oh, they're talking about pass protection in particular. But I think Ben Johnson was really alluding to the way they're able to create those holes and run block for these running backs. And I think we're starting to see that come to life. You got to point to Darnell Wright and what he's doing at right tackle right now. Ben Johnson called him a unicorn this week. He has so much athleticism. Remember back in the offseason when he compared him to Penei Sewell, saying he has that type of potential. Penei Sewell is the best right tackle in the league, and he's an all-pro. So I think right now you're seeing this offensive line get better blocking, combo blocks, all that. And you're seeing someone like Kyle Monangai, who, as Tina mentioned, he wants to continue to prove himself. But I think this is someone who mentioned last week, too, that when he is able to get the bulk of the carries, he's able to feel out the defense a little bit more and get into a better rhythm. And Declan Doyle talked about what Kyle Monangai does on a day-to-day basis, saying he is such a coachable guy, and he wants to get it right exactly how he's being coached, and has the ability to lower his pads and run through these defensive lines and all those tackles. And so I think there's another shot that we're going to see Kyle Monangai get a lot of action. The rookie starting to get some trust from his head coach.
I want to give some love to running backs coach Eric Bieniemy as well. All right. It's no coincidence that the Bears are running the football as effectively as they have in years. And Bieniemy is that running backs coach. This guy's been working with running backs for the last 25 years. He said the other day, sometimes it just takes a little time for players to get accustomed to the new scheme. And I think that's happening with DeAndre Swift, who, don't forget, rushed for over 100 yards against the Saints and the Commanders, and now Kyle Monangai. Tina, before we let you go, any nuggets out there, any other notes that you want to share with us?
Ooh, I did get the chance to talk to DJ Moore, and I asked him just a little bit about, hey, like, how is this season going, right? You obviously were a part of the team last year. You knew what that was like. And he just said, this year everyone's really close with one another. The players are all close with each other. Even when I go in the locker room on Fridays, right, they're all having a good time, yet still focused. They know the task at hand, right? And we know Ben Johnson, he's intense. But overall, this team's closer, and also the relationship with the players and the coaches have also been a lot closer this year, too.
You noticing that it's a different locker room than years past?
Yeah, it seems like a closer locker room, and obviously winning helps because last year they were on a 10-game losing streak. But Ben Johnson noted DJ Moore today, saying that he comes in with a smile on his face every day, and the guy just loves football. And credit to DJ Moore, where the targets were down early on in the season, he was actually getting more use out of the backfield as a running back, and that's something he talked about this offseason, if he liked it or not. And of course he's not going to answer. He's just kind of one of those guys that goes out there and does his job. And every time people ask him, are you happy with your targets? He's like, you guys know me by now. I'm not a diva. Like, he just wants to go out there and win, and one of those tough guys that will never miss a game. I just want
to make sure that they throw the football to Roma Dunze enough so I don't have to read his father's tweets anymore. Tina, great work on Friday. Appreciate all the updates. We'll see you Sunday on Bears Game Day Live. Baseball's general manager meetings start Monday. Will the Cubs or White Sox make a deal? We'll ask ESPN's Jesse Rogers next here on Chicago Sports Tonight.